Will the Bengals trade Trey Hendrickson? Let me know what you guys think in the comments of today's show. Type Y for yes or N for no. Is there any way that this could possibly go down after his comments this past week to the media? Get your thoughts down in the comment section of today's video. Welcome into Bengals Breakdown. My name is Stone Shields. And just a quick note here, doing a little solo producing here on today's show. So if you see me look down, whatever the case may be, just trying to do multiple things here at once as we progress through today's show. But conversation topic on today's show is Trey Hendrickson. CBS Sports dropped the 5 best potential fits for Trey Hendrickson if the Bengals were indeed to trade him. We're going to break down those 5 teams. Now, one thing CBS did not include is potential compensation for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm going to throw some pieces out there that could perhaps be in a deal between a particular team and the Cincinnati Bengals. The guy that did this for CBS Sports, his name is Cody Benjamin, and the number 1 team that he had on his list is the Detroit Lions. Now, it totally makes a lot of sense, right? The Lions are fully in win-now mode, right? They had a severe injury to one of their best players, Aiden Hutchinson, this past year. They were able to get Zadarius Smith, and he kind of came in the middle of their season, really did a great job for them. But then, Smith obviously left in free agency, and they haven't really gotten another guy in there that can rush the passer. Trey Hendrickson, obviously, is a guy that could come in and help them out. Let's take a look here what Cody Benjamin had to write for CBS Sports. He said, the Lions addressed their offensive line early in the 2025 NFL Draft, also adding some wide receiver depth. One area that went curiously overlooked, pass rusher, despite the team desperately needing the since-departed Zadarius Smith to step in as an Aiden Hutchinson replacement last season. So obviously a lot of teams would want Trey Hendrickson and his abilities and what he brings to the table, and I think the Lions certainly fit that bill. Now, some potential pieces that Cincinnati could be looking for in a trade. Let me be very clear. If they're going to move Trey Hendrickson here at this point in the season, they're going to need a player in return, right? It's not just something where, they can get draft picks. If they were going to trade him for draft picks, they would have done that already, so they could have used those draft picks in the 2025 NFL Draft. If what they were able to get from him is not going to help them win in 2025, I don't think that's something that they would do. So the Lions obviously have all kinds of good players, right? Here's a few that I think perhaps could get moved. Now, going through these lists for all these teams, I'm throwing some players out there. Yeah, there's a good chance some of these guys, there's no way in heck that they would be moved. But we're going to, go through it here for today's show because it is Trey Hendrickson, obviously, right? This is a guy that was the runner-up for the Defensive Player of the Year, and a lot of people believe probably should have won the award. So this is a really good football player that we are talking about. Jamison Williams, of course, at that wide receiver position. Imagine what that speed could do here in Cincinnati, pairing him with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Certainly would be intriguing. Frank Ragnow plays center for them. Veteran guy, really good player. Obviously, you got Ted Karras here, but you could use a veteran offensive lineman. Josh Pascal, obviously an edge rusher, right? You're going to give them an edge rusher. We'll take one of your starting edge rushers in return. Alex Anzalone. Obviously, you drafted 2 linebackers, so you kind of have a feel for what that room's going to look like, but he's a veteran guy that's really good at football. And Brian Branch, one of my favorite players in the National Football League. You got safety issues, and Brian Branch could really come in and clean that up immediately. Really good player. But, hey, if you want Trey Hendrickson, you should be willing to give up a good player as well. Who do you think deserves more blame in this whole fiasco between the Cincinnati Bengals and Trey Hendrickson? If it's Trey Hendrickson, type H for me in the comment section. If you think it is the Bengals, type B for me in the comment section. I think it's a pretty good question here. I think it's definitely neither side is free of blame. I think some blame goes to both parties, of course. Who do you think deserves more blame? Let me know in the pinned comment of today's show. If that ad comes here on YouTube, totally fine. Ignore it. Take advantage of it. Down in the comments, let us know what you think. Second team here from CBS Sports is the Washington Commanders. They, too, are in a situation similar to the Detroit Lions where they believe that they can win now, especially after the season that Jaden Daniels had last season. As far as potential compensation goes for the Washington Commanders, Deron Payne, right? Really good player there for the interior, has played a lot of football. His future at one point was kind of uncertain. With the Washington Commanders, obviously, is still with the football team. But, hey, you want Trey Hendrickson? Need a good player. Going to be a common theme here on today's show. Mikey Sainer still had a phenomenal rookie season out of Michigan. The Bengals, as we know, love their Michigan players. I'm kind of ready to, not sign a ton of Michigan players. But Mikey Sainer still certainly helps fill a need there at that kind of nickel spot. he could come in, play, Mike Hilton's spot there. Maybe Josh Newton's more of a backup or put him back on the outside. Javon Kinlaw, also another name to monitor as well at that defensive tackle position. You got a lot of youth in that room right now, and perhaps it would be a good thing to get a little bit more of a veteran presence in that room. Next up here is the Green Bay Packers. And shoot, if I was Trey Hendrickson looking at these three teams right here, I mean, I would love to go to any of them, right? Because all these teams are willing to win right now. Obviously, if I'm Hendrickson, I want to stay here in Cincinnati and hopefully things get worked out. But I think the Packers, again, common theme here, they are ready to win right now, and they could definitely use another piece on their defensive line for sure at that edge rusher spot. Definitely some guys that you could think about perhaps bringing in if you are the Cincinnati Bengals from the Green Bay Packers. I think Jaden Reed, right, is kind of their best wide receiver, but they just drafted 2 wide receivers as well. Lucas Van Ness, another guy on that list, right? He is an edge rusher, of course. He could perhaps come in and, offer something to the Cincinnati Bengals at that pass rush spot, kind of help fill the gap if Trey Hendrickson were indeed to depart. Xavier McKinney, also a guy that I love here. Cincinnati has a lot of need there at that safety spot. Talked about Brian Branch earlier on today's show. Xavier McKinney, I think, is a guy that you would really want to go after if you're the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, I don't think it's too far-fetched to sit there and say, yeah, we want this good player. You're giving up Trey Hendrickson, runner-up to the Defensive Player of the Year award. So, I think it's reasonable to expect that a team needs to give up something if they want to land Trey Hendrickson. Obviously, they have to pay him as well, so that kind of complicates things a little bit. But shoot, Xavier McKinney, Trey Hendrickson, some compensation, sign me up for that. Obviously, he was a turnover machine for Green Bay last year. Indianapolis Colts, this one obviously makes a lot of sense. Lou Anarumo has coached Trey Hendrickson for several years and has really done a great job coaching him. And Hendrickson, of course, has played his best football under head coach Lou Anarumo. And I would imagine Indianapolis is trying to do everything they could to get Trey Hendrickson. I think he would fit in perfectly with what they've got going on from a defensive perspective. Some potential guys that you could get from Indianapolis. Got 3 here on this list. Again, throwing a receiver out there. I mean, shoot, Bengals receivers in a good spot, but if you add one more, I mean, you're borderline unstoppable, right? You're already borderline unstoppable, but I really like Josh Downs. I think he's one of the more underrated players in the National Football League. Grover Stewart, right? He's a veteran guy along your interior. Look, you want to take a starter from us, we got to take a starter from you. That's kind of the way I'm working through this here. Not looking for backups in this deal. The Bengals should be going after a starter if they indeed Trey Hendrickson, which, by the way, I don't even know if I've said this yet on today's show, is an extremely long shot. I would be shocked if Cincinnati did this, but CBS Sports put out this article, so it was worth talking about. Quentin Nelson, great offensive lineman. Bengals could use another one. He's a guy that would come in and start immediately. Obviously, he's really good in this league, and I think that's kind of a good list there for Indianapolis if you're the Cincinnati Bengals. Got to have someone quality if you're shipping off Trey Hendrickson. What are you looking for in a Hendrickson trade? I think there's a lot of conversation around this, a lot of dispute around this as well. I want to know what you guys think. Sound off for us. Share it with me in the comment section. I know it's a bit of a longer thing to type out, but what kind of package are you looking for, right? Are you fine getting 2026 draft picks that you can't use for this 2025 season? I'm not. Personally, I'm not. I'm looking for a starter in return and some other draft picks on top of that. But get your thoughts for me in the comment section right now. Last team here is the Arizona Cardinals. This one is a little bit interesting. I think, the first 3 teams on this list obviously are in win-now mode. And then you got the Colts. You get the connection with Lou Anarumo. That can make some sense. Cardinals, I don't know if it does necessarily make a ton of sense. Obviously, they're trying to build some stuff there with Kyler Murray and Gannon, their head coach. They played pretty well defensively. But, again, if you're going to, get Trey Hendrickson here, we need a piece of your defense right now. And I think there's some guys that perhaps could come to Cincinnati in a deal like this. Mack Wilson Sr., really good linebacker, quality linebacker. Obviously, Bengals very familiar with him during his time with the Green Bay Packers. Sean Murphy Bunting, a guy that, really helped Tampa Bay out several years ago and kind of helped them get to the promised land. He is a really, really good player still. Bengals could use another starting corner. You got question marks all over that room. And then Justin Jones as well, kind of an edge rusher, most recently playing a part of the Arizona Cardinals team here at this point. He is a starter as well. Could be a guy that could come in and help bridge that gap for Trey Hendrickson. But really, the main focus here is, I've said it several times here on the show, if you're trading Trey Hendrickson, I want somebody that can come in and start. And I think that is a reasonable ask considering the caliber of player that Trey Hendrickson is. This isn't some, Joe Schmo. This is a guy that, he's causing a lot of distractions, but he caused a lot of ruckus on the football field for opposing teams these past couple of years. 17.5 sacks these past 2 seasons. Absolutely incredible. Need a starter in return that can help your football team in 2025 if you, in fact, decide to move Trey Hendrickson. If you realize, hey, this isn't going to get done, we're far past the breaking point, there's no way that we can see eye to eye ever again. You have to move him. You can't just, give him up for anything. You can't just give him up for draft picks. You need starters in return. Those are just a few ideas that we went through here on today's show. We will have plenty of more Trey Hendrickson conversation, I'm sure, as we make our way through this offseason. This really has no end in sight, in my opinion. But if you made it to the end of our show, we certainly appreciate you. Show your appreciation on your end by liking today's video for me right now.